After a meeting in LA with Brad Siegel and Eric Bischoff to determine his future in the company, Vince Russo has yet to return to the road after going home last week with concussion symptoms combined with a management dispute with rumors of the first sign of problems between Eric and Russo starting on the way to the inevitable turn with Russo confronting Siegel and Eric in the LA meeting offering to let Eric write the show himself as all he does is criticize the product in hindsight, while in the meantime with the company still expecting Russo to return to his role in the near future. The impromptu creative team of Terri Taylor and Ed Ferrara continued to write both Nitro and Thunder again for the week with the instruction to continue Russo's angles without major changes until he returns full-time, with Russo contributing ideas and going over the TV scripts while at home. With the second show of the new regime opening with Commissioner Ernest Miller booking the main event for tonight with a Goldberg-Nash Steiner and Jarrett four-way title match, confronted by the returning Jim Duggan to go against Goldberg, Russo and Bischoff and set up a Goldberg vs. Duggan match for the top of the hour. Nitro's second quarter of the first hour saw the debut of two rookies targeted to be potential future stars with Sean O'Haire and Mark Jindrak going over the Filthy Animals in 5 minutes, with the match placed in the safer unopposed hour showing positive signs to jump over 600,000 viewers to a 3.3 rating, with the rest of the first hour also seeing a hardcore and tag title matches, with Jeff Jarrett set to defend the belt in the main event tonight and in 13 days against Hogan at Bash at the Beach, as Hogan, who was doing radio interviews in the meantime, was kept off television for the entire build-up to the match, with his next appearance set to be on the pay-per-view, with the only hype to the match being in short sporadic Jarrett and Miller interviews over the past few weeks. After almost an hour of hype by strongly building up Duggan as a sympathetic figure based on his legit health issues over the past 2 years to put as much heat on Goldberg as possible, Duggan and Goldberg made their entrances 3 minutes from the top of the hour, with the match kicking off exactly at 9 p.m., starting with Duggan attacking Goldberg until he made a comeback to dominate the match by attacking Duggan's one kidney, with the announcers selling it big explaining Duggan's medical condition and the crowd, at least for this week, fully turning on Goldberg to cement him as a heel for the first time in a major heat angle, with the match going 3 minutes opening Nitro with its highest rated opposed quarter of the night 2.6 rating, followed by the reaction of the locker room to Duggan's injury, with the second half of the quarter featuring Nash vs. Mike Awesome going 4 minutes, with Nash going over to advance to the main event now set up with Goldberg, Nash and Jarrett. A day after the King of the Ring pay-per-view ending with Rock pinning Vince McMahon to win back the title and close the Rock vs. McMahon-Helmsley faction feud, the WWF was set to start building the different directions to all the top players involved in the angle over the past 6 months, with Rock opening Raw to a huge ovation, with last night's win putting him as a record 5-time WWF champion, equaling Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart with the most title wins in history, calling out Vince for his final response, saying that the McMahon-Helmsley faction is officially over while Rock's era is just beginning, set up for his first lengthy title run since March '99, with Vince coming out to congratulate Rock before questioning Linda's actions over the past few months, saying that she went against him to get his attention, with Vince telling her that he's coming home, writing Vince off storylines for the foreseeable future, with the top programs going in a different direction and Vince focusing in addition to the company's creative on the WWF's TV network change and upcoming XFL preparations, as Rock and Vince shook hands with Rock, sending him home with a rock bottom to end one of the highest drawing programs the industry has ever seen, opening Raw with a 5.2 rating, followed by an unadvertised Shawn Michaels arriving to the building for another big promo segment set for later tonight. Both companies had high-profile matches head-to-head, next with Nitro having Scott Steiner vs Buff Bagwell for the final spot in the main event four-way title match, ending with Steiner going over, while Raw had Chris Benoit vs Rikishi in a rematch for the IC title after Benoit dropped the belt, with him set to be elevated to a main event program, opening a 5.3 to 2.4 rating margin. After ending the trial against the USA Network last week, the WWF got the expected news on Tuesday, with the judge ruling in the company's favor when declaring that USA lost the rights to WWF programming as it failed to match the entire financial and promotional package offered by Viacom, making the WWF product move to TNN and MTV official, with the almost unprecedented situation of Raw as the undisputed highest-rated show on cable television set to switch channels at the peak of its run, set to debut on TNN in September and lead a massive multi-million-dollar rebranding campaign to build the entire network around Raw in the WWF, similarly to how UPN built all promotion around SmackDown, which was a massive success and revived the entire struggling network, with Raw's move to the current home of ECW on TNN also bring up questions on the future of the company, with rumors going around on USA potentially looking to try to keep some of its wrestling audience on Monday nights by replacing Raw with ECW, which will give the company the biggest break in its history financially and exposure on the highest-rated platform, creating a scenario where all three companies are going head-to-head on Monday nights, in addition to building intrigue to the more realistic situation of how both WWF and WCW will prepare for the big night of the switch in September, with both expected to put on two of the biggest and most hyped shows of the year, with the WWF looking to start strong and bring over its entire viewership, while WCW will look to capitalize on the network change on the night. After interfering in matches over the last week, Lance Storm made his in-ring Nitro debut after being called out by Disco and the Filthy Animals in a match going 3 minutes, while at the same time Raw jumped over 700,000 viewers to a 5.8 rating for a two-match quarter, first with Chris Jericho against X-Pac and then Eddie Guerrero vs Val Venis combined going 6 minutes, along with two post-match angles of Stephanie and Chyna against Jericho and Trish. A Vampiro vs Dale Torborg backstage brawl ending with a tease for the return of Sting opened Nitro's final quarter, followed by a commercial break, with the four-way main event unlike the usual format of the past 2 months of starting just before 10 p.m. and going longer in the overrun, seeing the entrances taking place at 9:52 p.m. along with the first half of the match, which saw Goldberg attacking Nash backstage to start it as mostly Steiner vs Jarrett until Goldberg ran in. With Kurt Angle's coronation set to be next, Shawn Michaels came out instead in his new role as the WWF spokesperson, saying that he has a major announcement to make involving the WWF title to bring out Triple H to the ring, telling Shawn that he was screwed last night by losing the belts without getting pinned in the match, asking Michaels to book the rematch with him against Rock, with Michaels responding that he can't do it as he resigned as commissioner last month, before introducing the new commissioner, with Mick Foley making his TV return with a new look to take over the on-screen role full-time, telling Hunter that after a meeting with Linda and with Vince now gone, he has all the power to make all matches and decisions, while as Rock did in February, mocking Hunter's routine promos, saying that he will also make sure nobody ever has to listen to a boring 20-minute Triple H promo again, with this segment jumping big throughout, first gaining over 800,000 viewers to close the first hour with a 6.4 rating. The Goldberg-Steiner-Nash-Jarrett four-way title match went a little over 2 minutes past the top of the hour, picking up viewers throughout the 6-minute match to peak at a 2.9 rating for the finish, seeing Nash ran in before being laid out by Goldberg for Jarrett to retain, closing the show with Goldberg showing Nash what's left of Scott Hall's contract in the build to their Bash at the Beach match with Nitro in the second week, without Russo on the road maintaining a 2.8 rating overall, while going against the finish of the Nitro main event. Raw's Mick Foley Triple H confrontation continued, followed by new King of the Ring Kurt Angle coming out for what was originally hyped as his coronation segment, saying that along with him beating 3 people last night to win King of the Ring, he also held every title in the company, which should make him the #1 contender, ending up with Foley mocking Angle wearing the crown while booking his first main event in a 3-way #1 contender match with Rock vs Hunter vs Angle, with the quarter which included a Lawler vs Malenko match and went unopposed from 10:02 p.m., picked up over 1 million viewers into the 7 rating range. Hours before the official announcement on the WWF moving from USA to Viacom, the company released its business report for the fiscal year between April 30, 1999 to April 30, 2000, as well as the first quarter of this year between February 1 to April 30, reporting record revenue with massive increases across the board, with 51% increase over the already record numbers of 98 to 99. Driven by the addition of ad revenue from SmackDown along with increased pay-per-view buys and higher ticket prices, in addition to a big spike in online merchandise sales, with the company reporting record revenue for the recent quarter mainly driven by huge pay-per-view buys from February to April, including an unprecedented figure of over 1.5 million buys in back-to-back shows for the record WrestleMania and Backlash pay-per-views, with the booming business continuing on Saturday with a 14th consecutive sellout of Madison Square Garden drawing over 19,000 people, headlined by a Rock and Dudleys vs. DX 6-man tag match, as after having an exchange with Governor Jesse Ventura last week in Minnesota, another major local figure attended the show, this time in New York with Donald Trump sitting in the crowd, turning the initial mixed reaction to a big babyface pop when saying that Rock was his favorite wrestler. Raw's viewership saw a massive increase for the overall second hour, averaging over 9.4 million viewers in one of the most watched hours in show history, opening the final quarter with a short Taker and Kane vs Edge and Christian tag match just before the 3-way main event, with Rock, Angle and Hunter going 9 minutes, crossing over the 6-minute overrun, jumping big with over 1.5 million viewers to peak the night with an 8 rating and a huge near-record figure of over 10.7 million viewers for the majority of the match, one of the 3 most watched matches in Raw history, ending up with Jericho running in, and after building up the idea of him losing the belt without getting pinned, Rock laid out Hunter with a rock bottom to pin him for the finish to close the show, with Raw rebounding big after the drop from last week, jumping back to a 6.4 overall rating.